It's the morning drive. The UAE is warning residents about the growing threat of misleading videos created using AI. In fact, the UAE Cybersecurity Council has warned the public about the growing spread of artificial intelligence-generated videos that can appear highly realistic, potentially misleading. That's in an official circular. So the UAE authorities say some clips circulating online may look real, but could be altered or entirely AI generated. They are urging people to verify content and rely on official sources before sharing. That's something we've seen a great deal of, particularly over the last week or so. Now, as deepfake technology becomes more sophisticated, the risks range from spreading misinformation to damaging reputations and even influencing public perception during sensitive times. So that's our next discussion. Our guest is AI expert Vasudha Khandeparkar, who joins us now. Vasudha, good to have you back on the show.
Thanks for having me again, Tim. It's my pleasure to be here.
Good to see you. What exactly are AI-generated deepfake videos, Vasudha? And can you give us an idea, some context as to how convincing, just how successful, if you like, these kind of deepfakes, these videos have become today?
So I think everyone's used to computer-generated images, videos. We've all seen Godzilla wreaking havoc or Avengers saving New York City. What's happened today is where this was typically the forte of certain very, very well qualified and well set up graphics and image production companies. It's now something that's available to everybody, to you, me, anyone who's listening in. We've got artificial intelligence algorithms, programs, which we can all log into, and we can ask it to generate an image, a video, even music, which speaks to certain themes or follows certain specific storylines. So anybody over here can now generate a video. All of this is generated through an algorithm which is trained on multiple images, multiple videos, multiple music themes. This now puts the power of generating content or generating something which is fundamentally larger than life, fundamentally untrue, in the hands of anyone. And what's happened is, as times evolve, we've all seen the advent and the improvements that have come in large language models, which we use to, say, help write our emails, help draft content across multiple themes. What's now happened is the same improvements have also come in image and video generation. So anybody can now replicate facial expressions, voice patterns, movements in a very, very realistic and convincing manner. And, to anyone who's even tuning into a sports event, we all know that the banners that are put on the fields, for example, are superimposed, are generated. Now what's happening is technology has moved to the extent where you can even change the banners on players' t-shirts. So if it's moving to the extent where you're watching a real live sports game and the advertiser or the person who's sponsoring the team is changing, that gives you an idea as to how much this technology has evolved. It's become so real that it's quite difficult to differentiate between what is actual real live content that's been shot through traditional means or through a video camera and what's actually now generated using a computer program. It was very easy previously because all of the larger than life you knew was restricted to a cinema screen, whereas now it's available on any device that you choose to consume this content on.
It's interesting this because, it's hence why the authorities are increasingly concerned about how AI-generated videos can be misleading. And it's really changed that phrase, documented proof, hasn't it?
Absolutely. It's now proof is something that you have to consciously ask for. And Tim, you're absolutely right. Before, when we used to read an article, watch news on TV, listen to the news on the radio, we knew that it was vetted. We knew that it was the same thing coming across multiple sources. And we almost took that validation and the vetting process as something that was a given. Now that we're receiving the content in a much faster manner, because we're not used to vetting it, that entire process has just gone out the window. It's something that we have to ask ourselves, and it's a conscious decision that we have to make. That is something even authorities are concerned about. The information is hitting us at a speed which was previously unknown and completely just not there. Today, everybody has a screen. You see a video, and you've hit forward before you've actually even questioned whether that is true or it's not. If in a light-hearted manner, you've shared a meme with your friends, but in an extreme case, as in the times that we're in today, we don't really stop, think, question as to, is this real? Is this something that I'm seeing from other sources? Am I hearing this elsewhere as well? And as a result, misinformation spreads very, very quickly. And that's the key risk that all authorities are worried about. Misinformation is there, and yes, it can be corrected if it's limited to a set of few. But the minute it starts spreading, containment then becomes a bigger problem.
Well, containment is practically impossible, isn't it? Once it's out there, I guess it's out there. And the issue is, as you pointed out in your answer to the first question, Vasudha, it's so easy. This is technology available to us all, and it's technology that's come available to us all in hyper speed, really. It's literally the last few years.
Absolutely. And a lot of this technology is used for good. I mean, we all sort of, generate lesson contents. I'm sure our teachers who are, sending content to kids for homeschooling are using this. You and I have probably used this, in the past 12 hours for work-related matters. So yes, we are using it for good as well. But what we need to realize is, in some instances, there are actors and there are players who are using it to sort of gain something for themselves, which is not ideal. We have to stop and question, where is this coming from? If it's only coming from one source, is it valid? Is it not valid? We need to realize that it's no longer sort of loud studios, specialized equipment. All you need is, a laptop, some internet connectivity, or even a phone and connectivity to be able to generate any one of these videos and share them to anyone. The barrier of entry is really, really low. And the ability to create convincing videos or convincing graphic images has become very easy. What we haven't quite caught up to is the habit of validating and verifying information. And that is something that in times like these becomes even more important. We really need to make sure that when we are consuming content, we stop to check whether it is, we always say too good to be true. But in this instance, is it true? Is it too, is it sort of too hyper realistic, or is it, too scary, or is it something that's actually happened?
It's easy, isn't it, or we should be encouraging a higher level of skepticism towards the things that we see on social media, so that we do question that little bit more. I mean, I love the AI videos of the orangutans or the gorillas or the buttered monkeys or whatever it is, as much as the next person. But I am very aware that that's AI generated. But I guess there are different levels of awareness. So, encouraging that level of skepticism is something we should be doing. Not everything that is there is true, so that we can start to learn to distinguish. But what are some of the warning signs that, a video online might be manipulated, Vasudha, or AI generated?
There are subtle cues. I think the disadvantage that we're at is that this technology, as both you and I have recognized, has improved rapidly, and it's become so good that identifying something that's created by this technology has become a lot harder. A lot of the social media platforms, government authorities are doing their work. But when it comes to us as consumers, there's very small, very visual cues. The first, as I've said, is just stop, think, question. Is if this is the only place where I'm seeing this, and this is something which looks like it could go viral very quickly, then is it really true? There's also other visual cues. Look at not just the main focus point of the image. Look at what's behind distorted edges. Usually the background isn't given as much importance and as much focus as what's in the foreground. That sort of gives a very easy clue into the fact that, hey, this doesn't look like it could be real. People could blink in a different manner, look at, things like even basic things like numbers of fingers, how watch hands are coming up, how voices are coming. When we speak, whether it's intentional or unintentional, there's intonations in our voice. There's a lot of enunciation. There is some feeling that always goes in, irrespective of whether we want it there or not. That is something that AI hasn't quite caught up to. So even when you listen to a news prompt which has been spoken out by AI, you know that it's flat, and you know that it's potentially generated by AI. Now, again, this technology has improved, so just pure sort of visual cues itself may not be enough. Validating the source of the content, so who's sharing this information? Has it come from a government or an authoritative portal? Has it come from somebody who's known for validating information before they publish it? Those start becoming as important as, sort of picking apart the video or picking apart the audio. We also need to question the very source of the content in itself.
How can everyday social media users verify whether a video is real before sharing it? I mean, what kind of process do you need to follow if you are aware that something may not be on the level?
The quickest way I'd say is just pause, stop, and think for a minute. Is this something that's really shocking? Is this something that's dramatic? And again, who's sharing it? Has this come from an official source? Is this individual or organization known for validating and vetting their information? Has it come from an established news outlet? And are all of the news outlets sharing the same information? This is something that, I'd send to my kids as well. I mean, my daughter loves her Sephora, and I say, hey, don't just check the brand page for whether or not it's good for you. Go check from other people, check the reviews, see if it's something that works for you. And that's the same thing in a much more significant and serious way that needs to be applied here. Where is the information coming from? Is it coming from a source that wants us to believe this, or is it a source that's providing us a balanced view of the state of affairs? The most powerful defense that we have against all of this misleading content isn't the ability to vet whether it's from a valid source, whether it's AI generated. It's us as humans, our ability to think critically. That is what will help us stop and pause and think about whether content is actually real, whether it's true. And that's what's going to help us prevent resharing information that's potentially incorrect.
Your daughter, the example of your daughter there and her love for Sephora is a really good point, actually, because in the end, if you're encouraging her to look at reviews and to look at, to do her research, you're encouraging inquisitiveness there, aren't you? You're encouraging her to look a bit beyond, to try to, examine, which is only a good life skill, I guess. The other side to this, Vasudha, is the role that social media platforms play in detecting or maybe limiting AI-generated content, or even as far as misinformation.
Absolutely. As consumers, we can do our bit. But the platform owners, the organizations which are enabling these systems and enabling us to share all of this information and consume this information are equally responsible, and they're also equally invested in it. A lot of these platforms have invested in AI tools that can detect whether content has been manipulated, whether it's been created and then modified, whether it's something as simple as an Adobe Photoshop job, or whether something has been created in a much more significant manner. There's also warning labels, which I think a lot of people might have seen on videos that they're consuming from social media. You can report something as fake as well. Now, technology that's used to create these is also evolving rapidly, and the checking mechanisms are evolving as well. So it is an ongoing challenge because it's almost a cat and mouse game over here at this point. Technology is evolving. People who want to use these to potentially generate harmful content are also sort of moving in step. You know what the social media platforms are doing. So the last mile, the last point and check, unfortunately or fortunately, rests with us as consumers. We have to make sure that when we are consuming something, we are checking it. All of the pre-checks are done, and then the content is there in front of you. Is it something that you want to accept as is, or are you always going to question what is in front of you?
Do you think, from a regulatory perspective, that we need more policies or safeguards around AI-generated media? Is that something you'd like to see more regulation, at least attempting to cover?
I think that is something that's quite likely to come, particularly in this region as well as globally. Now we're seeing some safeguards and some rails around the age at which individuals can be exposed to such content and start using social media. A lot of countries have come up with age limits. Now, regulation focused on transparency, accountability, I think is definitely something that's likely to come into place quite soon. I think there will also potentially be regulation that requires AI generated content to be labeled as such, as we've seen, social media advertisements requiring specific hashtags. That also then gets followed with penalties if, individuals are sharing information that is incorrect. And also a mandate for platforms to respond quickly and remove content if it's harmful. The goal will always be to protect both the platform as well as the public without stopping any innovation. And I think that's what we're seeing even today, where the government is saying don't share incorrect information. They're not stopping anyone over here in the UAE from sharing, useful content around, services that might be available to individuals. The goal is very much don't share any content which is incorrect or generated. Rely on official sources and share the information coming from those official sources.
Yeah, there is a balance to strike, isn't there, between regulation and that encouragement of innovation. Can I ask you, I mean, given what we've seen over the last 5 days, how you feel that businesses and organisations, in particular, prepare for reputational risks linked to AI-generated content? The backdrop, I mean, being what we've seen recently, this heightened sense of tension.
I think it goes back to that planning process that all businesses are following, and the risk from AI, the risk from deepfake content and generated content is a very key part in all crisis planning at the moment. Communications teams, marketing teams, risk teams are monitoring social media a lot more closely. They're thinking about how they would respond, how the brand messaging or executive messaging needs to be, and how it appears online. So it's not just appearing online in terms of the message that the business wants to put out. We're also trying to ensure that when we're putting out a message, it isn't something that can be manipulated as easily into fake or generated content. There's also a lot more presence that you'll see that businesses have on social media from a responsiveness perspective. So everyone's able to provide quick clarification from a trusted source. And that's becoming very, very important in crisis and reputation management in today's era.
Vasudha, if you had to set out a responsibility for AI generated content plan going forward for I guess content creators and companies, what would it look like?
The plan always needs to be centered around what the content is, why the content is being generated, and how people are going to consume it. And again, who it's aimed at as well. So there are certain guardrails that always need to be put in around if this content can be consumed by vulnerable individuals, how are we going to protect them? What needs to be there as set ground rules? Like, why are you actually generating this content? Is it something that you're doing to serve yourself? As in, are you looking for virality? Are you looking for more followers? Is that why you're generating this content? Then you also need to look at, or are you just trying to help people? Where are you sharing this? If it is information that is helpful, if it is information that is going to sort of start helping other individuals, you'd share that in a much more personal manner. It wouldn't be something that sort of appears on social media. So what are the channels through which this information is shared? And again, in times, who is the ultimate governance, or who is the ultimate mechanism around which all of these points of information are, sort of check marked or tick box to say, yes, this is correct and this is not correct. Who ultimately holds the pen on that? That is a key question that will need to be answered as well.
Final question for you, kind of in two parts, really. How important is public awareness and digital literacy when it comes to tackling the spread of AI-generated misinformation? And what advice, real practical advice, would you give anybody watching or listening to this if they encounter, shocking or viral video content before thinking of sharing?
I'd say key is awareness. AI isn't going away. Digital literacy is as important as, literacy across it's, I'd say, where we used to say reading, writing, arithmetic. AI and digital technology literacy is equally important. Everyone needs to realize that synthetic media generated content isn't just something that's now restricted to the movie screens. It's online, it's available, it's something that we've probably consumed in the last 24 hours. So the advice sort of goes hand in hand with that. It's slow down. The reason why that generated content is there on movie screens is to generate an emotion, is to generate that feeling of awe. And that's the same here as well. If something evokes a response which makes you feel shocked, angry, or emotional, that's how memes are. They make you laugh, they make you happy, and you want to share that with people. That's almost where you need to pause. You need to check the source, you need to question, you need to be able to activate that critical thinking. That small pause in checking and validating information can often be the most critical step in preventing any sort of misinformation from spreading.
Vasudha Khandeparkar is an AI expert. Always appreciate your analysis, your expert input, Vasudha. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks, Tim, for having me. It was my pleasure.
This is Mirror Business FM.